Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to an extra salsified edition of Thrash and Treasure, the Torture Chamber musical comedy podcast where Banana Rama lined up to buy one of Mrs. Lovett's meat pies. And speaking of maligned, I'm Aaron, and I'm joined, as usual, by a one-of-a-kind collector's edition director's cut of Spencer the Broadway Spy. How's it going?
Doing great, Aaron. Really excited for our interview today.
Yep, awesome. Well, I've been on 2 more red carpets by now, so go online and look at the photos because I looked slick as hell. Didn't I, Spencer?
You did.
Thank you very much. You will get paid this week. Guess what?
What?
We have our very first legendary boy band diva in the ballroom tonight, and after an 11-year residency in Vegas, it looks like his luck may have just run out. Wah, wah, wah. So let's begin counting down because this Earth Angel first hit the scene at 15 as one of 4 tracks, which sent 8 legs up the right path to walk the tightrope of fulfilling the wishes of this harmonizing heartthrob, and I'm telling everybody that he got it going on. So do up your wanna, and every time you cry, don't cry for me, baby. Just send it in a letter along with a huge local g'day as we fling our knickers onto the stage and sign your name so we know which pair is yours and which belongs to the millions of fans. So if I whisper your name, people, get ready, because here I comes, waltzing in as a singer competing on Dancing with the Stars, where this fox trotted away with the mirror ball as cha-cha champion, and after running around Ashley has lit an eternal flame for dancing in the street, he'll soon be singing for the dancing stars when he hits the road in Burn the Floor, Dare to Dream from August to September, girl. So help me be the first to help me reach out and welcome to our cruel torture chamber. Nobody just like you, but somebody guilty of being in 40 music videos from 13 hit albums, millions upon millions of sales and streams, including 4 #1 records, 5 stadium tours, 16 ARIA nominations, plus a win for highest selling record, plus a spot in the ARIA Hall of Fame, and plus a medal from the Queen. That's without mentioning stints on Neighbours, Hey Hey It's Saturday, The Monique Show, and various Aussie and American brekkie shows, as well as a cameo in Greece, the Arena Spectacular, alongside his former Godspell co-stars and bandmates, because it takes 4 to tango, so us 2 broken humans have found ourselves here and now where the party feels so fine. As we feel our temperature rising, we can fly away to Sin City because it's raining in California for 7 lonely days in Mary's Garden. Now that I've found you, one slice of human nature, because he's the baritone with the angelic voice and devilish hips, so lock up your mothers, wives, and daughters, because it's the floor burning Mr. Phil Burton. Yay! Welcome to the torture chamber.
Wow.
10s across the board.
That was so impressive. I think you probably left out maybe 1 or 2 songs from our entire recording career.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think you've mentioned them all.
No, I left out a lot, and I said if he mentions how many I left out, I'm going to say I don't care. There was way too many, too bloody many. Like goodness gracious me!
I think you got them all. I think you got them pretty much all. So very well done, Aaron. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely, and I've got a lot to live up to with you guys when you come on this show. Smokey Robinson of all people produced your show in Vegas, and now you're sitting on this show. That's a lot to live up to.
Oh well, yes. Well, Smokey actually didn't produce our show in Las Vegas.
Okay.
He presented it. He put his name to it, which was a huge thing at the time because we were struggling to actually get a booking in Las Vegas until Smokey said, yeah, sure, I'll put my name on it. And suddenly, instead of the show being called Human Nature, it was Smokey Robinson Presents Human Nature, and the casinos came running. So, that's a pretty powerful name to have behind you.
Yeah, goodness gracious, man. Even sort of early in your career, you did a single with John Farnham, even Spencer, who's a 22-year-old New Yorker, or is from Chicago, he knows John Farnham through the Jesus Christ Superstar recording.
Oh, there you go.
And a lot of our guests know him through that are from America. So, and yeah, early in your career, you did a duet with him, which was obviously a huge break.
Oh, absolute dream come true. And at the time, we were just a really young, just starting boy band out there. And, boy bands weren't really known for lasting very long at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of hit it and quit it, one-hit wonders. So for John to actually agree to do a duet with us, it was a real moment of giving us that extra credibility. I guess he could see that we were something more than just a flash in the pan, put together boy band, and he wanted to be a part of it and wanted to help our career. And it was probably the biggest thing that could have happened to us at that point. I think it gave us years and years more credibility and more relevance than if we hadn't done it.
You guys are uber talented, and that's why you've had the career you've had, and why someone like John Farnham would, be willing to work with you. And
Oh, thank you.
you're right that boy bands don't last long. Fame comes in, and then ego comes in, and
Yes.
people go their separate ways and everything. But you guys have lasted.
We have.
What is the secret? What is the secret? Everyone wants to know.
The biggest secret for us would be that we started at high school as four mates. Literally that classic story of singing together, not necessarily in the bathroom or the stairwell, but in the music room. We got together and were singing together just for fun, and there was no ulterior motive. None of us were using it as a springboard to a solo career. There was no manager behind us who was pulling all the strings. It was just the four of us enjoying ourselves, and we worked very, very hard, doing not a lot for about the first 5 or 6 years. We were doing talent quests, and then we were doing basic cabaret shows around Sydney RSL clubs. And it wasn't until about 6 years into our career that we got a record deal and started releasing music. So we weren't fresh off the conveyor belt for our first album. We'd had a bit of a go around the traps and had a bit of experience. So I think that really paid off in the end. The enjoyment that we have as a group together, but also the fact that we're willing to work very, very hard for what we do, and we still have a passion for it. So that's why we're still going.
And you weren't formed by a manager.
That's right. It was the four of us. No auditions, no manager, just four mates.
Now, I have to ask, because you did win Dancing with the Stars Australia last year. Goodness gracious me, congratulations. So where is the Disco Ball trophy? Is it now a bathroom doorstop?
Actually, no, it's currently downstairs in the back room coffee table, on the back room coffee table, sorry.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of cute because it is, it's all mirrored and it's quite large. When the afternoon sun comes streaming in the window of that room, it actually lights up all the ceiling and the walls. It's with little specks of light. So it's actually kind of fun. Yeah.
You can have your own Imelda Marcos disco in your house.
It is. It's like Studio 54 suddenly in the back room, only without the music and the decor and the drugs and the alcohol. But anything else, it's all there.
And the whole criminal parliamentary career. I won't go into that because we all know the Marcos's story. Anyways, I did watch your performances. I didn't watch the series, but I watched them this week. And I can see why Burn the Floor, Dare to Dream has poached you, because goodness gracious me, your hips didn't lie, but how much did they hurt afterwards?
Yeah, they did hurt afterwards. It was very, very intense. I think not necessarily from an injury point of view, but it was exhaustion. We shot the series was actually pre-recorded for the first time. So instead of doing 10 weeks with 10 different dancers, one a week, it was recorded over 3 weeks with 5 dancers. So we got about 4 weeks to learn the first couple, but then after that it was just dive in and working every day, filming every 3 days, and it just became exhausting by the end. And I think in the very last episode, if you watch carefully, you can just see that all of us, including the pro dancers, we'd had enough. We were right at the end of our tether, and so we'd just basically crawled across the finish line. I don't think any of us could have gone on another day. Actually, when I say crawling to the finish line, I'm not kidding, because at the camera run on the final day, I actually did the dance and then did not feel well.
Bugger.
Yeah, so I actually had to go to the first aid tent, and they plied me with, I had a vitamin B shot, and then they plied me with Gatorade and all sorts of different sachets, and basically got all my levels back. But I had to have a good solid rest for a while there, and then had to have a few checkups before the final performance. But I got through it. Yeah, but I did have to have a little bit of medical help.
Goodness gracious me. But hey, you won it, so it was worth it in the end.
It was
what we do for our art.
Incredible experience too. It really, really was something I'll always look back on and be so proud of.
And in a career that literally the Queen gave you a medal, Phil. Goodness gracious me. Now we will chat more Burn the Floor later, but just one more for now. You are gearing up to tour in the new production Burn the Floor, Dare to Dream this year. So could you give our listeners a quick rundown on what Burn the Floor is? Because they may have heard the name. It's been on Broadway, West End, traveled the world.
Sure. Well, it's actually the 25th anniversary of Burn the Floor this year, which is really exciting. It's great to be a part of that. Burn the Floor is basically, it's a modern take on ballroom dancing. So it's ballroom dancing on steroids. It's got really contemporary songs, contemporary outfits, contemporary moves. There are no judges that are there to talk about all the traditional things that need to go on in a foxtrot or a samba. So there can be licensed to do whatever they like. And these dancers, they are elite athletes, and you're watching just some incredible moves, very, very sexy, very energetic, and a whole lot of fun. So for me, I actually feel quite honored that I get the privilege of standing on stage and singing while I get to watch these dancers up close, because it really is quite incredible to watch good dancers, professional dancers, do their thing. They're just amazing. It's like watching incredible world records being broken at the Olympics. You know you're watching someone at the top of their game do something extraordinary. So if you come along and see the show, you're just going to be blown away by the talent.
World-class talent. A lot of those dancers have, gone on to Dancing with the Stars America. So You Think You Can Dance America is not just contestants as choreographers.
That's right.
Even judges along the way. So
True.
But anyway, speaking of bare chests and big hair, have you had any experience with metal, heavy metal, new metal, glam metal, et al.?
I haven't had any experience to sing it or anything like that, but I actually grew up in the western suburbs of Sydney. So, and I don't want to generalize, but metal and rock and roll are a little bit more appreciated, shall we say, out that way than they are in the more salubrious parts of Sydney.
Bogans. We can say it, Bogans.
I'm a bogan.
We're saying it with love.
Yep, I am a proud bogan. So I grew up listening to, particularly through the 80s, a lot of bands like Iron Maiden and Slayer. My dad, though, he had some great records back through Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. So I've heard a lot of metal in my time, and I actually do really appreciate it. I think the thrash metal and the death metal and things like that, when guys are like this, that's not really my thing. But when there's an element of melody and, catchy melodies in amongst all of the noise, I actually really enjoy listening to that.
We bring out the death metal and the rah 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 on people's second appearance.
Right, okay.
Because then they know what they're in for. We can turn it up to 11.
Sure, you're pushing me gently into the shallow end this episode. I get that.
Yes, we use everyone. Unless guests say, give me the hardest or, whatever. I'm like, all right, I'm blind. I have no idea myself. So I close my eyes and I pick something.
Well, I absolutely love who you've given me.
Yeah, awesome. I just got one more quick question before I get onto my review on that. Now, we usually ask our guests their ultimate rock star rider, but that's redundant this week. So I'm going to up the ante with a cheeky question.
Okay.
What has been the most extravagant thing human nature has requested on the rider? And I am so sorry to the other three boys in the group.
Extravagant. We've never been too extravagant.
Oh, bugger.
Oh, I know. I'm so sorry to burst your bubble, but a very funny story I can tell you about our rider was we often would ask for a bottle of vodka backstage, like half a dozen beers and a bottle of vodka, just something you can have a couple of drinks after your performance. Before our show, once we were performing for Virgin Australia at one of their big balls, Richard Branson came backstage to meet us and say hi. And he came back with a photographer and he had a glass of wine in his hand, and we went to do a photo, and the photographer said, Richard, maybe we'll lose the glass of wine for the photo. And so he turned around and went, okay. And he put it down on the table and he noticed our bottle of vodka and went, maybe I should have this instead, and proceeded to pick it up and take like 4 huge swigs out of the bottle before we did the photo. So we were all very impressed. So from then on, we had this tradition for a while where just before we would go on stage, we would do what we call doing a Branson, which was passing the bottle of vodka around and having a shot out the bottle. So that was our tradition. Let's have a Branson before the show. And it's a good tradition too.
Hell yes.
You can have your own Branson after we finish this episode, if you like. Just go find a bottle of vodka and chug some.
I have 2.5 bottles of scotch that have been sitting there for 3 years that I just have.
Scotch will do. Doesn't have to be vodka. Scotch. And if you're a teetotaler, go with the water.
No.
Doesn't matter. Just as long as it's drunk straight out of the bottle.
The listeners are going to be like, nope, you said water. Aaron's going to lose his shit. Because I'll ask my guests their ultimate rock star rider. Do you know how many people will say, bottled water?
That's boring.
Oh, I know.
That's boring.
Maybe once, the first person, sure, I understand. But then you'd hear it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And I've started saying to my guests, no water. And I feel so rude, but we're trying to get that extravagance out of you guys. So,
well, you shouldn't have to ask for water. That should be a given, shouldn't it?
Exactly right. That's like the most basic resource we have in life. Like,
Yeah.
give your artists water, people. It should not be a thing.
Absolutely. One thing, though, as a singer that I can tell you, I know we're talking about boring old water, but one thing as a singer that I find kind of interesting is we all ask for room temperature bottled water.
Yes.
Because cold water really messes with your throat when you're singing. You put it in there and it's like, it's like pouring it onto a fire. It just puts everything out. It's not good, not healthy.
So glad you mentioned that, because I have been meaning to bring that up every time someone said room temperature water. But obviously I cut them off and say, no water. We want like 100 puppies. That's what we want. We want like a circus performance in your dressing room.
I did hear Chris Isaac. His favorite thing was he would ask for a fresh pair of underwear, because on touring he said it was very hard to find a laundromat or find the time when you're traveling around. So he knew he had a fresh pair of underwear when he got to every gig, because, as he said, you can only wear a pair of underwear 4 days in a row before you wash it.
I was expecting him to flick it out into the audience when they're throwing their knickers at him. Anyways, we're going to move on, because this week I picked Sweet and their album Sweet Fanny Adams. So I'm going to race through this review because it's quite long.
Go for it.
So when I first picked Sweet Fanny Adams, it was purely because the album features Ballroom Blitz, and Burn the Floor references aside, I didn't know any other song. So without expectations, I pressed begin on the Spotify and was met with Set Me Free, the I Want song. But what are we setting free? Their balls to the wall? Yeah, I can hear that, especially with the high, ouch. I know I was meant to like play up that I'd hurt my throat, but I screwed that joke up. Anyways, Heartbreak Today cracked open a less heavy rock and roll vibe that had shades of the Hollies, the Kinks, with a slightly more camp flavor in this galloping track. No You Don't continues the theatrical trend, but here fun is replaced with emotive vocals that are broken up by a Who's Tommy-esque interval before bringing us home with a psychedelic, if slightly plateauic finish. It's dark and catchy. I dig. To which the band says, no you don't. Oh, I mean, it's okay. Rebel Rouser paves the way for the Billy Idols of the world with its unabashedly 50s feel, while still dancing with itself in the realm of glam rock. Peppermint Twist unravels yet another 50s bop, this time a cover, or should that be rapping with a W. I enjoy this cover, but with only one hard song, one semi, and 3 fun bops, I'm wondering, where's the meat on the bone? All I hear is sugar on the cane, whatever that means. Then again, they are called Sweet. Let's go, branding. Sweet FA starts, presumably the titular Fanny Adams, and takes us back into darker territory while still highlighting the fun lyrics and vocals by Scotsman Brian Connolly. By the time Restless starts, I'm not. This blend of sleaze and silliness mixed with their maybe too influenced 50s sound makes for an easy listen across the board, with energy rising and waning with enough consistency that no song becomes tedious to the point of skipping, even if I want to which the band replies, too late now. Oh. Into the Night keeps the sleaze and camp whilst shedding the 50s, but they're not far behind. Anyways, I could go on, but I am restless writing this review. So before the man in the back says everyone attack, 4 stars. Fun, silly, camp, dark, and light. Sleazy, yet easy, and never really boring. Only in moments, never a full song. So yeah, I was quite surprised I liked this, because I picked it because I knew one song.
Mm-hmm.
We've had problems with that in the past that I thought, oh, that one song might be a good album. No, was not a good album. This time I had a lot of fun. This was a bop.
Oh, I really love listening to this album as well. I mean, one thing about me, my favorite band of all time is Queen.
Yep.
I love Queen. Freddie Mercury, amazing performer and amazing music. Right in their early days, they were very much a glam metal band. You know, all of their songs were about fairies and ogres, but the music in the background had all those high screechy harmonies and heavy guitars. So I kind of got into this style of music, glam metal, through listening to early Queen. And so much of this album reminded me of that. It's got that real, Queen, T-Rex, Mott the Hoople, all those sort of bands, those British glam metal bands. And it's really fun to listen to because musically it's quite clever in a lot of spots. And couple it with a lot of the lyrics are very tongue-in-cheek. I mean, there's a song on there called AC/DC, which is hilarious.
Yep.
What does it say? What is it? She's my lover, but she's got a girl on the side, and saying she's AC/DC. She doesn't know which way she's to turn. And so it's really tongue-in-cheek and clever. So, of course, everyone knows the Ballroom Blitz, but all the other songs on the record are actually really fun to listen to.
The songs were familiar without knowing them. They were easily accessible, but still sort of had that unique quality. And I loved the 50s rock and roll, which is a great connection yourself, having done,
Yes.
a whole jukebox album, or two or three jukebox albums by this point, with some of the greatest songs ever that obviously influenced a band like The Sweet, or Sweet as they're now known. So
That's right. Well, Sweet, they were the Sweet to begin with, weren't they? And then they became just plain old Sweet.
just like she was Oprah and now she's the Oprah. Anyway.
I liked this one. It wasn't as thrashy as some of the other ones that I've had to endure on this show. So it was certainly a much more pleasant listen for me. And I really liked I don't remember the name of Blockbuster. I really liked.
Oh yes, fun song, Blockbuster.
Now, are you familiar with Ballroom Blitz?
No, I was not.
Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably where I heard it. I knew that I heard it somewhere.
And also any wedding or corporate function in Australia, you're bound to hear it from the band.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. What about 50s rock and roll, Spencer? Have you?
That like style of music?
Yeah.
Yeah, a shit ton. I growing up, all of that, one of my favorite musicals growing up was Million Dollar Quartet. So like all that music, not like growing up. I was like 10 by the point that came out, but
in like 2011.
yeah, I love that show. And so now I'm fairly familiar with that. I'm a huge Beatles fan. And so the precursor to all that stuff, I know no good amount of. There's a musical right now that's off Broadway that I haven't seen yet. That's all 50s rock and roll and doo-wop,
Ooh, what's that called?
A Sign of the Times.
Sign of the Times.
Oh, wow.
I have to look it up.
A Sign of the Times. Wasn't that a Mamas and Papas song? No, it was a it was someone. Why am I thinking Mama Cass sang that? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it's funny because like we did Kix, the band Kix, Kix, with David Newman, and it was the same deal. If I knew one song, it was a bop, and I thought maybe the album would translate to that. It didn't at all. It sort of,
I did not like that album.
we didn't like it. It just sort of plateaued. This had so many peaks and valleys. It had so many changes during a song that it was very, very theatrical and camp, but still, it's got that sleaziness. There was that balls to the wall feeling sometimes. So yeah.
High camp. If high camp is absolutely true, that the bands that were all very high camp in glam metal in the 70s, all those British bands. I mean, David Bowie, look at him. He was like right at the forefront of it, and he was very camp and glamorous and androgynous back then.
But whereas this one, again, I had no expectations going in.
I knew who Sweet was, basically through Ballroom Blitz. But one of the songs actually, which was, I think, later in their career, which how you have those memories from when you're a little kid of, I think I heard that song a lot when I was a little kid. And the song for me was a later hit of theirs called Love Is Like Oxygen. I remember hearing that on the radio when I was about 4 or 5 years old and loving it. A really great song. So they have had other hits. Fox on the Run. Everyone loves that song, Spencer, you might even know that one.
Maybe.
That was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 recently.
Fox on the Run.
Oh, yeah.
You're screaming. Everybody comes.
So I knew that song, but wouldn't have attributed it to Sweet.
Oh, okay.
But I would have Ballroom Blitz. I knew they had done that, but I guess I presume they were one-hit wonders, which is so insulting.
Well, I guess they're probably about 3-hit wonders, which is more than most bands have.
Yes, tell me about it. But just a few fun facts about the bands. Some of their songs were written by a British man, Nicky Chin. I'm just looking for my notes. And an Australian, Mike Chapman, who also worked with Blondie on Parallel Lines and Heart of Glass and some of their biggest hits.
Wow, there you go. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, they wrote Ballroom Blitz, which was actually about a gig that they'd had, an actual brawl during the gig. Like, I don't think they were playing hit songs or something like that. So people weren't happy. And yeah, they started throwing shit at the stage.
The Ballroom Blitz.
Yeah, so that's where that song comes from.
It's a Ballroom Blitz. There you go.
So it is an actual literal Ballroom Blitz. I thought it was just, like everyone's having fun at the dance hall or something like that. And anyways, we'll move on. It looks like we blitzed the ballroom and burnt the floor. So we're going to quick step to an ad break. Coming soon to the Bloop Network from the producers of Thrash and Treasure, around the world in 80 plays. starring the adorable Lizzie B and Alfie Parker, and featuring the star of the show, Dolly the dog. They'll take you for a trip around the UK, exploring the rich arts and cultural history of the UK and Northern Ireland. Episodes begin airing exclusively to the Bloop Network on November 14th, but here is a sneak peek.
Long time no see. Welcome back to the second leg of Around the World with 80 Plays. I'm Alfie Parker, and that's
Lizzie B.
And we're joined as always by our four-legged friend, Dolly the dog.
Woof woof.
After a 2-month break from brand new episodes, we've boarded the bus for Bradford on the 8th stop of the Sister Act UK and Ireland tour.
Lots of Bradford love.
Lots of Bradford loving. Now, moving on to the tour. This week we've been performing in the Alhambra, as I said, and I believe this is Lizzie's moment to shine, to give us an insight.
Are you going to yawn all the way through it this week?
Yeah, last episode I was yawning a lot. This week, I don't think I'll yawn.
Are you going to interrupt me throughout?
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe.
Let's see how it goes.
If anything really shocks me and I'm like, whoa, then maybe I'll exclaim.
Oh, I can't wait. Right, so, as Alfie said, we are at the Bradford Alhambra Theatre, and I personally think this is one of the nicest theatres in the UK, which always makes it worth going to Bradford. I'm having a lovely time.
Yeah, that's nice.
But I've had quite a cold experience there before because I've always stayed in hotels, like just bog standard hotels. As you said, walked 30 seconds to work, walked home. So I haven't gone out or done anything like that. But this time I'm having a totally different experience. But talking of the theatre, basically my point was the theatre is so nice. So here's my information taken from good old Wikipedia.
Here we go.
The theatre was built in 1913.
Ooh.
And it was built by the architects Chadwick and Watson of Leeds.
Not to be mistaken with Sherlock Holmes and Watson.
Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes.
This is going to lead on to another thing which Alfie always takes a mick out of me for, because everyone says Sherlock Holmes, but it's got an L in it. So I think it should be Sherlock Holmes.
No, you think it should be Sherlock Holmes.
That's not what I say.
That is what you say.
I say Holmes.
No, you say Holmes. Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes. Lizzie says Sherlock Holmes.
I don't. I say Sherlock Holmes. I hate you so much.
Well,
oh dear.
Yeah, well, there you are.
Word in. I actually say it right.
Lizzie's totally right. But it's a silent... Yeah, it's a silent L.
So it's not Holmes. It's Holmes.
It's a silent L, isn't it?
No. It's not silent.
Might be. Sherlock Holmes.
Moving swiftly on. It was opened by theatre impresario Francis Laidler. And before you ask...
Right, sorry, carry on.
I actually don't even know why I bother.
No, I'm
Are you
enjoying
taking
it.
any of this in? Who was it opened by?
Francis Laidler.
Right, before you've asked, I haven't researched him any further, but if anyone would like to...
Yeah, who is he then?
A theatre impresario.
They said that about me. Theatre extraordinaire.
Shout out to Jeremy Seckham, my OG theatre extraordinaire. If anyone knows how you become a theatre extraordinaire, please let us know.
I think I'm on track. I think I could.
Of course you are, dear. Right, more facts for you. The large domed turrets are iconic in the Bradford skyline, and they actually are.
Yeah, they are.
So
Fair play.
it's got 1,400 seats.
Is that it?
Oh, sorry.
No, it sucks because it feels so much bigger.
That's what she said.
Yeah, there we are. It does seem a lot big. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
You do. All right, 1,400 seats.
Start behind the Bradford Alhambra.
Call me the Alhambra.
Here's a cool fact. It was the main location, like the set on the film The Dresser, 1983.
They remake that.
Yeah, no, it was a play. It's been a play recently, but the film with what's he called? Mooney, Alfred Mooney. Is that his name? Daddy Warbuck.
Oh, I don't know.
Doing a quick Google. Talk amongst yourselves.
Frederick Mooney. Alfred.
Albert Mooney. Albert Mooney. That's him, isn't it?
We're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron. That's the West Wing's #1 fan who wasn't even born when it started, Spencer the Broadway Spy, and we're joined by a true blue Vegas headliner, Mr. Phil Burton from Human Nature. Now, you started with them at 15 years old.
That's right.
Aren't you tired?
I'm always tired. I just turned 50 a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, I'm just eternally tired.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. No. There was a time there in Las Vegas where things were incredibly intense. Actually, the whole time in Vegas was incredibly intense. We were performing 5 nights a week, 45 weeks a year. And even in the downtime, when you're over there, you have to work so hard at promoting the show to keep yourself relevant, or else you'll disappear into the swamp of all the other shows that aren't doing well. So, any given night in Vegas, people have 75 different shows that they can choose from. So you have to grind so hard to stay on top. Plus, factor in on that on our weeks that we weren't in Vegas, we were touring Australia, or we were recording or doing other things. So it really was, for the 11 years I was there, it was very, very full on. It's the hardest I've ever worked in my life. So in the end, for me, that became one of the reasons why I moved back to Australia. Was just, I'd kind of just had enough of that intensity level of work. Plus, I wanted my family to come back and experience what it was like to grow up in Australia. So I guess I did get tired at that point, but it wasn't necessarily tired of being in the group. It was just tired of the work the group was doing. So now that I'm back here, we're in a good situation. The other guys still perform in Vegas, although on a far less intense schedule. And when they come back to Australia, I join in, and it's still the four of us working over here together. So it's kind of the best of both worlds now.
Yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting at all tired of the boys, the group, I promise.
No. And over 35 years together, you do get tired of each other at some points. You have to have a little bit of space. We've always been quite good at factoring that in, I guess, though.
And just to confirm, will you be shaking your hips at least once in Burn the Floor, Dare to Dream? Because the ladies require it.
I would say at least and at most.
Yep.
At least once and at most once. I'll be doing the singing, and they are talking about me doing one routine. And you know what? I'm happy to do that. One routine. I think if I started doing more than one routine, people would start seeing the shortcomings in it, and it'd become less and less impressive. So it's it's one of those things. Leave them wanting more.
Yep. That's the British sitcom mentality. Leave them wanting more. Anyway, so do you know your set list yet?
No, not entirely. It is very Australian based.
Oh,
yes, Australian music through the 80s and the 90s, particularly a bit of 70s in there as well, and it's some modern stuff. So it's taking people on a journey through Australian music, but it's also some of it relates to me personally, stuff I grew up with, but also music that I have performed. So there'll be a bit of Motown in there, a bit of soul, and of course a couple of Human Nature songs.
Yeah. Are you going to get out the vinyl shirts and the faux leather pants?
Oh, vinyl shirt.
We've all seen the posters and the photos and the photo shoots and the album covers from the 2000s.
Yeah, they do look good in a photo shoot. They're not so comfortable to perform in, though.
No. Any regrets about that?
Oh, the regrets pretty much came before Human Nature.
Okay, yeah.
The regrets were when we were the 4 tracks. If you look up some of the photos of us when we were the 4 tracks, oh my goodness. Do you remember what 90s hip-hop fashion was like?
Yes.
Baggy pants and lots of medallions.
I wasn't alive.
You weren't.
No, that's true, Spencer. Go back and look through an almanac or something and you'll find some 90s hip-hop fashion. Lots of bling, collar tabs, baggy shirts, baggy trousers. So we would be wearing that, a lot of bold colors.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think is probably the most embarrassing thing for us, we were wearing maroon suit coats with baggy mustard jeans.
Now that sounds like something I would wear. I mean,
I can see that, but when you put 4 of them together, with big chunky boots as well, it's like, oh good Lord. And then yellow baggy pants with black shirts and collar tabs on the the metal things hanging off the collars. Oh, looking back on those, it's like, what the hell were we thinking?
Well, you can rest easy knowing fans still have the posters for a lot of these images. So, anyways, and just fun fact, it's still my birthday in America, Spencer, for 18 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, happy birthday,
Aaron.
Thank you. Like, I've been working with this guy for 2 years.
Oh, dear.
No, so I didn't say anything. I haven't said anything to anyone because it's just like...
Are you 50 as well? You don't look it.
39.
I remember 39.
Yeah, you moved to Vegas at 39. Like, literally, the
No,
peak
35.
Oh,
35 I moved to Vegas and left that...
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
left
that's
at
right.
47.
That's right. Okay, that's all right. I don't feel that bad. It sounds like everything was happening for you at 39. But no, so look, I'm doing this show and having brilliant guests on. Anyways, we are going to move it on now to the musical. So Spencer, you reviewed the musical, which is called Ballroom, in what you call appeasing the PR company.
Yeah, I'm a musical person. I'm currently in the process of trying to finish the 2023-2024 Broadway season, which is a crazy, crazy amount of shows. But I really liked this musical. It was not really at all my thing. It sounded very reminiscent of like Golden Age shows. It sounded like a musical, if that makes sense at all. Like there's some musicals now that don't really like have that musical sound. This sounds like a musical, and it's very, very proud of that. The lyrics, I will say, were not really my thing, but I really, really enjoyed the instrumentation a lot. And all that. I love a good overture. I have a playlist on my phone of overtures, and I listen to it a lot. I I'm a sucker for a good overture, and this show has a great one. I will say, looking at the show itself, it was Michael Bennett, and like a really, really great cast. And so yeah, this was an interesting one, and a very, very nice break between all of the shows from this season that I'm currently having to endure. Vastly different musicals sounding that are very much trying hard to not sound like musicals. So it was nice to listen to something that knew what it was.
Yeah, that's interesting. And also you had mentioned to me that all the musicals this season are depressing.
Yeah, there's one happy musical this season. The rest of them are sad.
Oh dear.
And it's not even an original musical. It's the Huey Lewis musical is the only like happy musical this season.
I love Huey Lewis.
It's a great show. It is so fun. It's a shame it's not going to run a very long time, but it's incredible. I had so much fun.
And it's also starring past guest and past guest co-host F. Michael Haney. So anyways, Phil, did you have a listen to Ballroom?
I did. I did have a listen to Ballroom, and I agree with Spencer. Yeah, it felt like golden age Broadway music. And in a way, I enjoyed that. At the same time, I did find it all a little samey. The music, there wasn't any particular moment that stood out going, oh, wow, that's a big number, or, oh, that was a sad song, or that was a lot of fun. They all tended to blend into one for me. Not that I didn't enjoy it, though. I did enjoy listening to it. But you can tell what it's built for. The music is built for dance routines. So, yeah, not necessarily catchy melodies that you go home humming. But you would have, I'm sure that when whoever puts Ballroom on would put together some really fantastic ballroom dancing routines. In a way, kind of burn the floorish, I guess, that people go home, you want people to go home and talking about what they've seen, not necessarily what they've heard.
Yep. I didn't get a story.
For me, I listened to it right after I saw the new Great Gatsby musical.
Okay, yep.
And the choreography was very, very robust in that show. But it's very much the same thing. It sounds very similar. There's a couple of melodies that are used throughout the show, and the choreography is probably what stood out the most to me from it. And so it was very much the day after seeing it, I was like, oh, it's like that. It's very similar melodies made for dancing. Although, I assume no one dies at the end of Ballroom.
Well, we don't know because those mirror balls can unscrew and fall.
That's true.
I looked it up. It's an odd one about a lady whose husband's died and her friends are trying to convince her to get out there and enjoy life again. And she finds another man, but the other man is married. And in the end of the story, she accepts that he's married, but she falls in love with ballroom dancing, and she's cool with that.
A very simple,
odd.
Yeah. Classic. No, I didn't get the story in this, but it was nominated for like 8 Tony Awards, I believe. Am I right, Spencer? You are the numbers Tony guy. He's looking it up
8.
now.
Yeah, no, I was on Wikipedia, so I had read it, but I was already on the page, so I didn't want to just guess.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it is 8. It won 1 for best choreography for Michael Bennett.
Yeah, I could understand that would.
It lost best musical to Sweeney Todd, so I think that's an okay loss.
Yeah, that is an okay loss. It also featured Lynn Roberts, who was a massive big band performer in her heyday. But Dorothy Loudon, who had obviously played Miss Hannigan in Annie on Broadway, like it was a hit obviously at the time, but I think it may have been a little bit too late. It ran
only 116 performances, which in that time wasn't a lot.
No.
Now it is, unfortunately.
Nowadays it is. It's like that's a success now. It's sad.
As we just saw from reviews that came out for a show tonight that I don't think will last that long. But 116 performances nowadays is great. I mean, it's not like making back your money, but a lot of shows don't make it that far.
No.
I mean, for then it wasn't that long.
And that's like a 5-month run.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like it was a limited run.
No.
Sounds like it just was a open-ended run that closed.
Yeah, and people enjoyed it, clearly.
Yeah.
But it was rather forgettable, I think. It was sweet. It was just too sweet and dated. There was no meat on the bones, only glitter on the disco ball. Sorry. Yeah, so I think I enjoyed the metal album more. It was more fun.
I would agree with that. Yes, the metal album was more fun to listen to.
And more danceable, definitely. Like, because this was a bit too samey, and it did have a disco feel. I noticed that there was sort of few moments that had an almost disco feel, like they were trying to modernize it, but it just.
I mean, I kind of appreciated the sameness because I've now seen so many things that like are trying to not have the sameness. Like Lampika is a good example because to me the score does not sound cohesive in any way. It sounds like 3 different musicals at different parts.
Oh, so too far the other way.
Yeah, I appreciate this where there is that sameness where it sounds like the same thing, which I do agree that there is a scale there and that this one was a little bit too much the same, but I appreciated that.
Well, it was just an unknown musical I'd heard of. Apparently, we could have done Steel Pier, but it was suggested to me about 5 minutes too late. I'd already sent off this one. So, and that's a Kander and Ebb musical, I believe. So that may have been probably more successful. But I would probably give it about a 3, 2.5, maybe. It was too sweet. It was too sweet for me. I do need a bit more of an edge, I think. But anyways, it looks like we also blitzed that ballroom and burnt that floor again. So we're gonna polka to an ad break. G'day listeners, Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistonTales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. Landing with a thud that echoes throughout the whole cottage, Toniston instantly rips off the manky shoes gifted to him by Milfred and tosses them into the corner behind a blue barrel. Without a second thought, the bully races down the hallway to the backmost room of the house and leaps behind his uncomfortable makeshift hay bed, then waits, and waits, and then waits some more, until finally, what seems like an eternity later, muffled growls start vibrating through the thin walls of Cubpaw's cottage. He tries to control his breathing, but his heart is racing way too fast. Toniston ducks down further. Nothing should be able to see him, but he can't be sure they won't smell him. The gruff growling grows louder. Toniston presses his ear against the cold, chipped, chalky wall. He thinks he can make out phrases like, "Where is it?" and "Give us the merge," though not much else. It's all too mumbled, and he's shaking too much. But it doesn't matter anymore. The front door of the cottage slams open with a harder, louder cracking thud than it ever had before. A dozen or so stomping footsteps enter. The cottage shakes uncontrollably as if it is as terrified as our friend the bully is. Toniston panics. He's trapped in a corner with a slew of sharks on his trail. He makes a sudden rash decision. Ripping aside the thick animal hide curtain, Toniston leaps through the small oval-shaped window head first, landing on a crate filled with hay sitting outside it. Mustering every ounce of manliness he has not to react verbally as he lands with a crunch on the sharp, pin-like hay. It pierces his skin in several places, but thankfully, in his panicked state, the bully becomes numb to the pain. Counting his blessings but not his chickens, Toniston struggles out of the crate by throwing his legs over and levering himself up, causing the coral underneath his feet to snap. He loses balance and tumbles. To describe the pain of tumbling face first down a steep hill of hard, sharp, deadly-shaped coral would require far too many swear words than this author would be allowed to publish, so let's just say it hurt. A lot. With one last somersault, Toniston's legs fly first over the cliff's edge. Crunch. His left hand grabs hold of the outmost jagged knob of coral. The stocky body of the 10-year-old child sways rapidly back and forth like some sort of death-defying pendulum. He gasps for air, or from shock, not even Toniston can tell. All he knows is above him a deadly coral cliff and deadlier sharks. Below him, larger, sharper coral under a sea of giant, sharp spikes of natural metal. His head throbbing and vision too blurred with bright red splotches to be able to see clearly for too long. His face is dripping with blood. It runs down his shirt front, tickling him in the process. But all he can do is swing there. It's moments like these that a boy really needs his mum. Unfortunately, while Toniston's life hangs in the balance, on Earth his life was, dishonestly, being celebrated by all at Gumbaya Primary School after news of the bully's disappearance had spread like wildfire through the tiny town, then onto the music industry before eventually reaching the wider world. Rock music fans, specifically those of Muzzletop, had flocked to the outskirts of Melbourne, leaving wreaths, band posters, and hand-drawn tributes to honour the missing son of their favourite singer. Although none of them knew the boy, many had seen him standing on the side of the stage of the band's concerts alongside Tina. Also, at the time of his disappearance, hundreds of the world's entertainment media lined the streets outside the school and, sadly, outside Tina's house. Wanting any word they could get their greasy hands on, the gossip came in thick and fast as snide, bored neighbours took it upon themselves to speculate and make up stories for their 5 minutes of fame. Inside the house, the phone ringing 10, 15 times a day from nosy TV stations, hounding the poor, terrified mother, there was no escape. And whilst Tina was never polite in her declination, still they persisted. "Call me again and I'll punch you in the nose," she promised. The school's principal, Mr. Patterson, had himself realized how cold and nasty it would look if Toniston Turnbull's former victims didn't at least pretend to mourn his disappearance. And thus, with an added paranoia of becoming a suspect, Mr. Patterson set out to overcompensate with memorials and dedications to the boy who touched all our lives with his love of animals. Mr. Patterson felt satisfied his school's image was intact. The largest memorial from the school came in the form of a service in the gymnasium. With every student, teacher, news reporter, and local police in attendance, Mr. Patterson sought to show the world just how much Toniston had meant to the school. The service would have made the bully puke. From the awful school choir butchering his least favourite songs, to the obnoxious releasing of the white doves, Mr. Patterson may have been satisfied his memorial service paid tribute, but Toniston is far too cynical for that. And yet, whilst hundreds of people sat on the cold plastic seats in the Gumbaya Primary School auditorium, not one person in attendance truly knew Toniston when he was around. But all alone, in her large house, the animals all shunned outside, Tina Turnbull sits with her umpteenth glass of wine, ignoring the umpteenth phone call from friends, fans, and family, but most sad of all, wondering, for the umpteenth time, what she could have said to her only child to have brought the two of them closer together. A now broken photo of Trent Turnbull and an infant Toniston, only hours after his birth, sits at her feet under the table. Tina simply doesn't care about the million tiny shards of glass cutting up her feet. She just wants her son back. And as if joined at the soul, while dangling from the lavender-coloured dead coral cliff face, somewhere in his head voice, Tina's cries are heard by the boy. His face scrunches up, but then it relaxes. I can do this. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! We're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Spencer the Dancing Spy, and we're joined by legendary Phil Burton, OAM. So what's more exciting, a medal from the Queen, stepping onto the Vegas stage for the first time, or winning that disco ball trophy?
Oh, well, I would probably say at the moment it's the disco ball trophy, the mirror
Yep.
ball trophy. Although, having said that, the first night in Vegas was very exciting. But the OAM, I mean, that's a great honor, but that's not something that you work towards. So you don't sort of get that and go, yes, I got it. You know, it's something that comes along that you just suddenly, oh, I'm getting one of those. Isn't that lovely? So you're very appreciative of it, but it's never something that's on your radar. No, I don't think there's anyone in the world that would go, you know what? I'm going to get an Order of Australia medal one day. I'm going to work really hard and going to get one.
Yeah.
So that just came as a very pleasant surprise.
Just on a more serious note, if every single one of those people that stood up to this arsehole this past weekend and helped those victims at Bondi Junction, if they don't get an OM or an OAM or an AM or some sort of medal for what they did, what's the point of it? Because
Yes.
artists, we give them to artists and people who are in the public eye because you have done something extraordinary. What the hell is what have they done if not extraordinary?
Yeah, I totally agree. Although I do know that there is a category, not necessarily Order of Australia, but they do have bravery medals that they do give to people at that. So that's a particularly, yes, knowing what happened on Saturday, that's very important that they do get rewarded for what they did.
Yes, I thought that it should at least be mentioned here because we've had a few people on with OMs and OAs and all that jazz, and I'm always going to shit stir you all about it.
It's okay.
Because, it's a fantastic, it's an honor, full stop.
It is.
To have. So
it is. It is.
I appreciate you saying what it was because I was about to Google it when you mentioned Order of Australia medal. I was like, and then you said it, and I was like, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. So it's basically like you guys have an equivalent, I'm sure.
Yeah, we have the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
That's the biggest one. Yes, there's about. I think there's about 6 different levels of Order of Australia medals.
Oh, wow.
And I think the OAM, the one I have, is the bottom level.
Oh, is that?
It is. It's entry level.
Okay, so we've had Caroline O'Connor's got one, I think. Simon Burke's got one, and Jane Caro. And I think you're our 4th. I'm collecting the whole set.
Oh, there you go. But there's other levels like AM.
Yeah.
There's AM, there's AO.
I can't. No, Simon Burke is AO. No, he's OA. No, I look.
AO.
You know what? As I say, I'm going to shit stir you all about it in love and respect. So, anyways, Burn the Floor has had some incredible artists leading the band, including past guest and friend of the chamber, Mig Ayesa. So, does stepping out with just one other person, not 3, make you nervous or excited?
It makes me excited.
Yeah.
By this point, I've had a couple of years of performing my own shows around Australia. So that initial nervousness of being on stage by myself has gone now. I mean, I still get nervous, of course. I still get nervous before a show, but now it's more of a nervous excitement rather than a nervous fear. Yeah, up until I came back from Las Vegas, I'd never done a full show myself ever in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the fear was definitely real when I got up on stage by myself the first time, but now I'm over that and I really enjoy it. So the excitement is there and I can't wait.
Yeah.
And by the way, Mig Ayesa.
Yep.
I love Mig Ayesa. I've known Mig since I was about 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really great mate and an incredible talent.
Hello, Mig. Come back on the show, please.
Hey, Mig. And I'm really sorry, Mig. I'm really sorry. I'm looking over in the corner of my room. I still have your acoustic guitar.
Oh, well, there you go. We are reuniting people with their instruments on this show.
I've had it for nearly 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Goodness gracious me.
That's terrible.
He was a brilliant guest. I cried with joy and I cried with sadness because, he was in Rent. Rent changed my life.
Yes, he was. So early, so young in his,
That's it. But anyways, it's about you, not our past guests. So Burn the Floor can be very sexy and you were in a boy band. So how many pairs of knickers have been thrown onto the stage at Human Nature concerts? And is it more than the amount of babies that have been conceived to your CDs over the years?
Well, I don't know if anyone's ever reported how many babies have been conceived to our CDs. Personally, myself, I don't sit in the room with a clipboard.
Yeah. You haven't had any children, any teenagers come up? No one said
no. There have been teenagers and children that we've been introduced to that they say we're big fans and now our kids are big fans. But I don't know if anyone has come up and said, guess what?
We did it to your song.
Yeah, did your song, and this is the result. As far as Nick is thrown on stage, well, I'm trying to make a collection. I'm trying to sewing together a doona.
Yep.
No, we've had a couple of pairs here and there, but generally they're kind of tongue in cheek. They're doing it for fun, really.
Yeah. Well, I hear Chris Isaac usually has a spare pair after his gigs.
He does.
So-
He does. But once you've worn them, if you've worn them all night on stage, I don't think you want to cop them.
I know fans are going to pay premium for that. You know that fans are weird. Let's face it. I love you, fans. Don't come on my show, but love you. Anyways, we're going to move on very, very quickly before I get in trouble with the PR company. Have you kept up ballroom dancing since winning?
I'm devastated to say I have not.
Tisk, tisk,
No, I haven't. I know. I mean, everyone talks it up and says, I would love to do this. And, I'm guilty of that as well. I would love to keep going with this. But I think when the novelty of it wears off and you go back to regular life, trying to squeeze something in like that into the already pretty busy life that I have, it was just a little bit too much. And plus, the fact that it was such an incredible experience working with Ashley, who's an amazing dancer, and it was an incredible teacher.
Yeah,
I think going to someone else just to have 1 hour a week lessons, I think that the gloss would have gone off by then, it'd feel like a bit of a grind.
Yeah. And quite frankly, you're not being paid to be there. So
damn right.
So much hard work. So much hard work without a paycheck.
I did, though, after I won the show, about 3 months after the show, the Perth telethon that they have every year on Channel 7.
Yep.
Ashley and I actually got asked to perform on that. And so we did. We got to do a bit of a reunion and perform on the telethon, which that was a great thing to be able to do it one more time.
Yeah, until obviously burn the floor. So with this foray into ballroom, will we get an album by Bertie and the Big Band?
Maybe. Well, all my classic ballroom favorites. I could throw in the songs from Ballroom the musical.
Exactly. There was I think a couple in there could be sort of beefed up and be done in that style. But no, when I read that your nickname was Bertie, I thought that is the perfect big band leader name. Let's face it.
Bertie and the Big Band.
Yeah.
I like it.
5%, please.
Yes.
Oh, hang on, 10%. You're in Human Nature. You weren't in one of these bands that quit after one song. Anyways,
I will say my parents knew Human Nature when I said what I was doing tonight. So that was big.
Oh, that's a good sign. Well, had they maybe come to Vegas to see us or something like that? Or
maybe they like Vegas. My dad was just in Vegas to see U2 in the Sphere, the crazy
in the Sphere, yes.
$20 million bajillion venue.
Well, maybe your parents they might have popped into our show when on a Vegas trip.
Yeah.
It's very possible.
Maybe.
Tell them I said hi.
I will. They'll probably listen.
Yes.
At least my dad will.
Yeah. But anyways, can you do any impersonations?
Impersonations.
No offense, but I'd say a little bit of an older brother of Shannon Knoll vibe going. And if you used to ever get an acting gig, you could play brothers, I tell you right now.
Yes, I used to get mistaken for Shannon Knoll all the time.
Yep.
Particularly when there was one point where we both had a little bit of a flavor saver on the lip, the soul patch. We both had that going on at the same time. So that was very much a thing. A taxi driver once was convinced the whole way in the journey that I was riding in his taxi. He was convinced I was Shannon Knoll the whole way. He would not believe I wasn't.
You were actually already in a band. You had sold millions of records, done stadium tours before Australian Idol, even before
That's right.
Pop Idol in the UK even started up.
Yes, that's right. And so, but this guy, it was like, nah, bullshit. You're lying to me, mate. You're Shannon Knoll.
Did you say sing for me?
Well, I should have punched him in the face, stolen all his money, and then run away because Shannon Knoll would have taken all the heat.
Yes, goodness gracious me. Anyways, but can you do any impressions, any impersonations?
You know what? I hate to be boring, but I'm terrible at impersonations.
Yeah,
I'm really, really bad. Yeah, I'm just shocking at it. Like I just cannot get the nuances of anyone else.
Yeah, that's a surprise because you're a singer, and singers are usually really good at picking up the sort of cadences and the little nuances in someone's voice.
Yeah, I know. It's really funny. Terrible.
Just unpracticed.
Yep, awful. I'm so sorry.
You're just unpracticed, that's all. So if we get you back in the future, you'll have to come up with one.
Yeah, absolutely. Like next time, I'll keep that in mind, and next time when I'm on this show,
Awesome.
I'll work on one for you.
Yep. Now I got a cheeky human nature question because photo shoots, you did a lot of them. How
We did.
much negotiation has there been over the years for who gets to be front and center? Because only two of you get to.
We've always just been subtle at it. Like you'll subtly move in and just shove someone out of the way gently and then just stay there until someone gently comes and shoves you out of the way, and little comments here and there. Should we maybe change up the lineup a little bit?
Yeah.
Everyone wants their moment in the sun. So there's never been any violence or shoving or
Oh, damn.
backroom deals going on. No, none of that sort of thing. No one's gone quietly to the manager and gone, Mike's been in the front too often. Although I have to say Mike's probably been in the front more often than most, for the simple reason that he's the shortest.
Yep. And the two brothers, Michael and Andrew, them two are often in the. I notice you and Toby are quite often on the outer, and that's why I wondered how much negotiation has been happening here, kids.
Sometimes you just got to let the people have the middle if they really, really want it. It's like, okay, you go ahead, have your moment in the sun. Hope you enjoy it.
So it wasn't you being like the reluctant, dark, brooding one, standing up the back all the time deliberately?
No, I was just being generous.
There you go. Now, what are you daring to dream for your future? And can you act? Are we ever going to see you in theatre? Because you can sing and dance. You could be the next Hugh Jackman, Phil.
I could be. I am what is known in the industry biz as a classic double threat.
Yep.
I can sing and I can dance. I cannot act. I'm terrible. You know what? Having said that, if I really gave it a good solid go one day, I would love to be in a musical. I guess that's probably one of the things I would dream of, is I do love musicals and I would love to be in one. I would have to go and get some acting lessons in order to do it, but I am keen to do that. I would love to. I'd love to get my hands on like one of those classic baritone roles one day. My ultimate goal would be, I don't know if I'll ever pull it off because I don't know if they'll ever put the show on again. My dream role would be Javert.
Oh, they're going to put Les Mis on another 100 times in the next 10 years. You know that.
I know it's coming back here in the next couple of years.
Oh, there you go. Valjean, at last. Yeah, I can get the voice down.
What would be your Spice Girl name?
Oh, Lefty Spice. I'm left-handed.
Lefty Spice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's because you say it in the lineup. I'm ginger. I'm sporty. I'm lefty.
Oh, the right wingers will love that because they're totally going to interpret that as left-handed. People will hear it and they'll be like, "Oh, bloody lefties! I'm not paying attention to that."
Lefties, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people seem to do that now for some reason. Anyways, how has your approach to performing changed in the past 30 plus years? And did the Vegas style of entertainment affect that in any way?
Oh, one thing that we have always been very, very concerned with is when we put on a show, of making it a proper show from start to finish. We don't like just chucking on a concert where we just sing songs and say goodnight and leave. For us, it's all about making sure that we take the audience on a bit of a journey with us. Not necessarily that it has to be a book or anything like that. It's just that the audience feels the ebbs and the flows of the show. So that's something that I've really learned over 30 years, is how to perfect that. Not that we've ever perfected it. Still working on that. It's at some point there'll be a perfect show and that'll be the last one. But I would say that, learning all of the different facets of being on stage. It's not just about getting up there and singing. It's about carrying the audience along, trying to read what kind of mood they're in and being able to switch up and maybe change songs here and there and take them with you. If they're a little bit reticent to get up on their feet and have a dance, you might throw in a couple of numbers that get them on their feet, to get the blood pumping. So that's something that I've learned over the years, is to be flexible, but also not too flexible that you are all over the place. So, you've got to stick to your guns and stick to the plan, but have a little bit of option B in there now and again.
Yeah, and I get that in terms of a structure of a show, the ebb and the flow. And this is one thing that the two albums that we covered today, one of them had that structure. The other one was a bunch of songs on an album. And the metal album had that structure. It took us on that journey. There was ebbs and flows, there was peaks and valleys, but the musical was all pretty just sail along on that journey without much.
Yes, I agree.
So, and look, I even produced this show with that in mind, because we are producing a show. We're not recording a conversation. We put a lot of work into this.
It's a show, people. It's a show.
That's it, So I've got to think about it. Okay, how we start the show. and how we end the show and lead up to the good questions and stuff like that. And then mix up the promotional questions all through that. And then all the puns and all that jazz.
Well, I have to say it has been a journey so far, Aaron. It's been a show.
Yep. Well, we have reached the end. So if Spencer's got any questions that he's thought of quickly, because I know he has had a full-on week this week producing. So the fact he's awake is a miracle.
That's impressive.
Yes.
I know a lot of the Vegas culture has changed in the past couple of years. Especially, I just saw the other day they're closing Beatles Love.
Really? Oh my goodness. I didn't know that.
Unfortunately, that Cirque is doing because they're tearing down the hotel. What do you think the future of live performance is in the next 10 years? A lot of venues are closing. A lot of people aren't touring as much because it is exhausting. What are your thoughts on that?
I personally think that there's going to be a disparity. I hate to say it because I really would hope that there isn't, but there's going to be a larger gap. And I think it's in the way that, capitalist countries eventually go as well, where suddenly there's a lot of rich people and a lot of poor people, not a lot in the middle. I think I had to get all serious now with this, but it is a serious subject. I think that live music is going the same way. You're going to get stadium performers at one end and you're going to get small theatre performers at the other and clubs, but you're not going to get the arena and large theatre performers as much. It's a really tricky area in the middle there. Someone's going to be quite happily and easily selling out 300 to 500 seats, and a megastar is going to sell out 50,000, but I don't think it's going to be too many people in the middle selling out 1,500 to 2,000 to even up to, say, 15,000. And it's a bit of a worry because everything's just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, except for the gigantic performers. And we need that middle, I think.
I mean, and you're even seeing with theater too, especially in America, the revival of Cabaret that's on Broadway right now it has normal price seats for as much as $700.
Fuck right off.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah, no one should be paying that much for one night. Even if it's Taylor Swift or Beyonce or anyone like that, you shouldn't be paying that much for 2 hours of your time. Sorry, Cabaret
Absolutely
is
true.
a 3-hour show plus an hour and a half pre-show. You shouldn't be paying that much for anything that is an experience.
No, I totally agree. And that is such a shame. I mean, yeah, my daughter went to see Taylor Swift here in Australia and she was lucky. She got $100 seat, but it was behind the stage. She could hardly see a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the tickets here, they were up to $800.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I just want to bring that up because I've actually written down Swift and the live music clubs in Australia. Now in Melbourne, we had a brilliant live music scene.
Mm-hmm.
Any night of the week, there would be 20 bands playing in any local suburb or whatever. There would be music clubs all over the place, the Art House, the Corner, and the Burmy, and all these places, and the Tote. And not only are these places all closing now, and more are closing every other week, but there's no funding going into keeping any of them alive. However, Taylor Swift announces she's doing a concert here. And I'm sorry, but the desperation of the Australian media to mention her name every day, it wouldn't matter what the story was. They just had to plug this big name performer who was coming here.
Oh, it was off the charts here. Ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. And the problem is, I don't have a problem with Taylor Swift.
No, she's wonderful.
I mean, I don't hate her. I don't love her. I'm very indifferent. She's not my style of music. But it got to the point where I was actually hearing fans are hoping they could buy Taylor Swift tickets today for Taylor Swift concert in 3 months' time. Every day there was a useless non-story to get that. And I know I get it's PR, it's marketing. How about this? Taylor Swift doesn't need it.
She doesn't.
Our artists who are struggling in Australia need
That's
it.
absolutely true. That's a very good point.
Thinking that the fans want to hear it, that we at home want to hear it, that we need to know that tram tickets are going to be $1 cheaper tomorrow because of Taylor Swift coming in 4 months' time. No, kids, stop it. It's going to happen when Beyonce comes here because precedence has now been set.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to think that we need to hear every little tiny non-story. No, we want to hear about our artists and boosting our artists and the clubs that they can play in being open full stop. And if I'm alone in that, then what the hell reality am I living in? But I don't think I am.
No, you
Sorry
are
to
not.
rant.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
I've been dying to say all that in a microphone because we haven't recorded. Like,
I'm glad you got it out.
ooh. Like, I get it. She's massive. But it was ridiculous. And it was in the 4 or 5 months leading up to her that it was just a non-story.
Yeah.
But then it would be a matter of, oh, another Melbourne club is closing. So where are bands going to play this week?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of different factors in there, like the death of street press.
Oh,
That hasn't helped.
No.
Yeah. It's hard to say where it's going to go next, really. But
yeah.
Well, I was just in London, and I was able to buy a full price ticket to a West End show for £35, whereas I can't get a rush ticket, which is day of going to the theater for $35.
But pounds and dollars are a bit different.
Yeah.
Slightly.
well, I
But,
mean, that's what, $70 or $60 US?
Yeah. Something like that.
£35 is like $46.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it'd be like
Yeah,
70
so it's-
Australian.
Yeah.
But like that's a full price ticket to that show. I can't get a day of cheap ticket for
Yeah.
most shows for that amount.
Yeah.
I mean,
get it. It is ridiculous.
Oh, here in Australia, it's the same. Tickets to musicals here are at minimum about $150.
Yeah. And the amount of cheap tickets are getting pushed back further and further and further.
That's right.
And the premium sections are expanding. So, anyways, we have reached the end of the gauntlet. So, thank you so much, Phil, for saying yes. And it's such a joy.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
When you said yes, I was so thrilled because, I was about 9 years old when you guys broke into the scene, and I was that awkward gay kid, so I could never be caught in public listening to Human Nature.
Be proud of it. Be proud of it, Aaron.
Yeah, no, now I can because, I'll embrace my campness. But no, and I've watched your career and having you guys in Vegas as the second Australian act ever to have a residency in Vegas was a huge thing of pride because, these 4 Aussie boys are breaking out. And
oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
this was something you guys earned by pure talent and hard work. And you showed us all that it's possible to do things. And not only that, you beat Kylie to that Vegas residency, but what, 10 years?
We did. I guess we did. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I think she's only just now.
We wanted it and we went for it. So, yeah, no, we're definitely very proud of it.
Yep, no, awesome. And Burn the Floor, Dare to Dream will be touring nationwide around the country in August and September.
That's right. August, September. Cannot wait.
So anyways, before we let you go, where can people find you on the social medias?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook, on my website, which is philburton.com.au.
Yep.
Yes, join in the fun. You can read up on my shows that are coming up, all the news, all the stuff about Burn the Floor. And
look up the old video clips of Human Nature in their vinyl shirts and faux leather pants and the mesh.
Yes. We all have a past. We all have a past.
Yes, we do. But anyway, so thank you so much. It's such a blessing.
Thank you very much, Aaron. And thank you, Spencer. Lovely to chat with you too.
Thanks so much. You as well.
Please put in a good word to all your Vegas legendary friends to come on our show.
I will. I'll tell them it was fun.
Yeah, awesome. Anyways, a huge thank you again to Phil for joining us and to Amanda and Mandy for helping us sort this out and organize this episode. You'll have to forgive me. I'm a little bit sick at the moment. And when I say a little bit, I mean I have COVID. So I probably sound all nasally, which is probably no different to how I normally sound. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty fine. Lots of energy, no sore throat, no coughing, just runny nose and runny eyes, but you don't need to hear any of that. What you do need to hear is the details for Burn the Floor, Dare to Dream, which are down below in the description. So go to the website, grab tickets, and go see this amazing performance, and of course to see our guest Phil. There's no other news, no nothing. We'll be back next week with another episode. Eventually I'm going to explain why we've been pretty absent lately. It's been a rocky road, but I will get to that when there's an appropriate time. Otherwise, I have nothing to say other than take care of yourselves. Stop giving each other bloody COVID. Thank you for listening, and we shall see you next time. All right.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.